Hi, I hope we still have people join us. I apologize. There were some technical issues I was experiencing in the previous session. So hopefully it works now. Again, my apologies. I had to redo everything, which took a little bit longer. So I'm happy to stay a few minutes over the time limit to answer questions. So hi, thank you for being here with us today. I am really excited to discuss the new application cycle, and obviously we have several sessions ahead in support of those applicants who are going through this process. So I'm really excited to dive right in, and as usual, I have put together a few slides to anchor the discussion, and then we will be answering, or I will be answering, questions that have come in through the registration form, as well as questions that will be asked through the live. I am on Instagram as well, so I will be monitoring those questions. If you are joining us live through Instagram, please type your question down, and I will be answering it. Even if you can't stay the full session, I can still answer the question, and then you can watch the replay on YouTube. If you are new to this channel, new to the MBA application journey, every single week I go live on YouTube, on the various different social platforms, and I cover a topic related to the MBA application journey. There is always a topic. We try to stay in line with what's happening in the MBA application cycle of an applicant. So this way we are providing useful insights as you're going through your journey. And invite you to, if you are not subscribed to our channel, I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our various platforms, because we do have quite a bit of insights that we share publicly. And if you would like to have a conversation with me about your profile and supporting you in this application process, I also offer a 30-minute consultation. I will be putting that on the screen. But if you go to siaadmissions.com, you can absolutely request a consultation with me, and I can talk. We talk essentially for 30 minutes about your profile, about schools, goals, what are you looking for, etc. And then also, of course, talk about ways that we can support you in this process. So I invite you to do that. And then also, just as a quick reminder, obviously we're going to have another session next week, and next week we're going to focus on goals. So if you are in the process of putting together your goals, I invite you to register for that event as well. We have a few additional events on our website posted, so you can go and browse on siaadmissions.com/events to look at what events we have coming up, so that you can register for the ones that align mostly with you. So with that, why don't we get started? So let's talk about the new application cycle. And so I've done a bit of introduction of myself. I am the founder of SIA Admissions, for those who are new here. I run a consulting firm focused on supporting MBA applicants through the application journey. And my focus is a lot on helping them craft a narrative that's in line with who they are, but also what business schools are looking for. I see comments. Hello, good morning. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our channel. So let's talk about today's agenda. Obviously, we're talking about business schools and business school selection in particular, but also some of the trends that are happening. So we'll be covering those in this sort of why business school selection is important, some of the research essentials that you need to be doing, your goals, career, campus culture, and then we'll move into questions, as is our typical structure. But this doesn't mean that you can't ask your questions. So please ask questions in any of the platforms that you're joining us from. So let's dive right in. So why is business school selection really important? I've highlighted some of the keywords in here that are important for you to note. Obviously, you are attending or you are applying to at least the community that I'm a part that is attracted to the services here. It's applying to top 20 business schools. So you're looking for really high education. So quality of education is really going to be important. But it's not just about the education, because you're not going to business school to become a professor or anything along those ways. Rather, you are going to business school to help you move in the direction of to help you with your career, moving it in the direction that you want. And oftentimes that comes with the opportunities that you wouldn't get otherwise that a business school offers, in addition, of course, to the training, the business training that you get. Of course, you are also looking for the strength of the network in your desired industry. Some schools have stronger networks in particular areas, in particular industries. And I'm not talking here about, finance, tech, consulting, which are somewhat standard, but even within those, there are some schools that are known to have more seats from employers, from different employers than others. So you really want to pay attention to your business school selection and what it is that you want to do, right? You also want to have access to the right resources. If you wanted to have the same experiences that you have had up till now, you would not go and spend 2 years out of work, $250,000 in tuition, right? You are looking for opportunities and resources that you wouldn't have had access to without this MBA. So it's really important that when you're going through this process, you're looking at the resources it provides in alignment with what you want to do. So obviously they're going to have a lot of resources, but what do you need to succeed? We live in, at least in the United States, in the capitalistic world, brand recognition, reputation, all of those really matter. I think those matter across the board, but I think as human beings, we care about these things. And of course, you care about your ability to get to your goals. You care about the ability to get there as fast as possible, even if you don't care about brand, right? Even if you're not a brand-focused person, you do care about how you can get to your goals, the impact that you look to make as quickly as possible. And then a return on investment. This is something that I talk about often, that oftentimes people are, when they're looking through to business school, they are only thinking about that immediate post-MBA job and how much they're going to be making immediately post-MBA, which of course makes a lot of sense. You are going in debt. You want to feel secure that you're not going to be drowning in that debt with a job that is not going to pay you enough for you to be able to repay back that loan. That said, you also want to look at the return on investment from the perspective of what is the long term in the trajectory of your career. What's the return on investment in the institutions that you are applying to, that you are attending, right? So I would look at where you're applying, not from the perspective of what is the next thing, what is going to be the next salary, but how is this going to continue to provide or give you dividends in the perspective of the investment that you've made now. This typically has to do with sort of, perhaps it's a carrot that you need to dangle in front of you to remind yourself that you're going through the pains that you are going through, whether you're studying for the GMAT or GRE or going through the application process. You're going through this for the long-term benefit and not just for that immediate. Sometimes it's like, is it even worth going through all of these? Well, it is in the short term, of course, but also in the long term. So some of the trends and forecasts as far as like what we've seen so far in the application process of the 2023-2024 application cycle. I will say that these are somewhat rumored in the sense that, well, one, I've seen, from my clients that I've worked with, but also the conversation that's on the street without it being official. So the official numbers are not going to come out until, later in the year, because there's still round threes that are in process. But what we've seen so far at several top M7s that they have reported verbally that they've seen an increase in applicant to about 30%. This may be a few reasons for this. One is the job market. The other one is the change in test. So with the GMAT focus, people were looking to use the previous scores that they've had. There is always a little bit of uncertainty, and people tend to flock into academia again with any changes that is happening in the traditional settings that we're accustomed to. They may sometimes expedite your decision to apply. That said, quality remains intact, meaning whether applications go up or down, and we'll see the official numbers later on, not in the presentation, but in the coming months. What has been consistent, even when we've seen a decrease in applicant numbers, what has been consistent is at top business school, the quality of applicants that gets in remains high. So whether it's obviously, if it's more, then it just increases the competition. It just means that you have to put in a lot more effort. But even if it's the same or below, your quality of your application still needs to be high in order for you to submit really strong or have a high return on investment in this process. The other thing that we have seen in the last application cycle, and we anticipate this coming, changes happening in this new application cycle. So essay questions haven't been released yet, so don't start writing essays until that has happened. Otherwise, you may be putting in effort with having to redo it all over again. But there are things that you can do, just not the essay writing. And the fact that we have there has been a lot of conversation around AI and how applicants are using AI to write their essays to business schools. We anticipate that there's going to be a lot more videos added to the application submission process. So this is another reason why you shouldn't be writing your essays yet. But there are components that will remain absolutely for certain there that you can definitely start working on now before the essays the essays come out in the coming months or two. And then, of course, there have been an increase in tailored courses. So, AI is definitely something that has everyone a bit worried and also excited. There's obviously a lot of opportunities that AI provides, but also there is a worry around, am I going to have the right tools? Am I going to be replaceable? Is my, going through this process, what is that going to mean for my future career? And that has also meant that a lot of people are interested in making sure that they're going through this process and have a well-rounded output, which means they are interested in making sure that they leave the MBA program with an understanding of how to leverage AI, even if they're not in the tech space. And we anticipate seeing classes increasingly be more prevalent in business schools, but also applicants just leveraging the other schools within the institution's umbrella. So meaning, like, if you are applying to GSB, so Stanford's Graduate School of Business, applicants are also looking at how to leverage the other schools within the Stanford umbrella to make sure that they're leaving fully prepared, well-rounded applicants. So with that, some strategies, some of the things that you need to be keeping in mind when you are thinking about business school selections. Obviously, like I said, you still need to have a really strong application. And that means that you have to pay attention to not just your GMAT score or your GRE score. You do need to look at the full spectrum of your what are you submitting. So what are your leadership experiences? What are extracurricular experiences that you've had, that you are having currently, that can make sure that you stand out, because there's a lot of applicants who have really strong test scores but are not admitted because the rest of their application isn't really in line with what top-ranked business schools are looking for. So it does need to be a balance across the board. I typically say, you should apply to 5 to 6 business school. I would probably say more lean towards 6 business schools that you apply to in whichever round you choose. Obviously, the earlier rounds, the better. Typically, there are less applicants submitting applications in earlier rounds than by that I mean like in round 1 versus round 2. Most applicants do submit applications in round 2, which means it's a higher number of applicants submitting then. So the earlier, the better. However, that doesn't mean that you just target early and not submit a strong application. So there again needs to be a balance, and start the process early. If you are going to apply to 5 to 6 schools, that's a lot of workload that you have to take on, not just the tests, but also the applications for each one of those schools. In the United States, we have the common application for undergraduates, which is you submit to multiple schools using a single common application. So you're not submitting over and over again the same information. Well, that does not happen in business schools. So you have to submit applications for every single school that you are applying to, and each one needs its own nuances tweaked, as well as obviously the things that are different between the schools. So you really want to make sure that you are starting this process early, mapping everything out, and then, of course, making sure that you are giving each component enough time and do one thing at a time, obviously for greater output. All right, so let's talk now about business schools research. So we talked about the fact that you should be applying to about 6 schools this year, or targeting about 6 schools to apply to, but how you make the selection. Oftentimes we only make decisions based on rank, which again, when we're thinking about brand and reputation, obviously that makes a lot of sense, but rank does not always mean it's the right thing for you. So it's really important for you to start looking at the business schools that you are choosing to apply to, not just based on rank, but the holistic experience of what you are going to get out of the program. This means you have to do your due diligence and your research to make sure that you're making the right selection. This due diligence should not be solely based on what the school's website offer. You must remember that websites are marketing tools. Therefore, all of them seem really exciting and sometimes really confusing. Which one should you choose between the different programs? So what I would suggest is that you start having conversations with different people from your target institutions, just to get an understanding of what it's offered. But also do start attending the information sessions that schools put together, that are typically available online, which obviously with the exception of the hour that you're spending there, you shouldn't be, it should not require additional commitment from you, meaning you don't need to travel anywhere. You don't need to, dry clean your suit or whatever else that you need to do when you show up in person. Here, at least you start getting an understanding of what the schools offer. You can ask your own questions in those sessions with like being somewhat anonymous, in the sense that they don't necessarily know your full story when you're asking those questions. Whereas when you show up in person or have a conversation with someone specifically one-on-one, there is always that, tell me about yourself, what are your goals kind of conversation that comes as a result. So when you're selecting your school, some of the things that you need to look at, of course, program offerings, specializations, and cross-school elective selections. So what do I mean by that? So what does the program offer? As far as what are the courses, how flexible it is, who are the professors, do they have enough professors in your field of interest, specializations, do you get to customize your curriculum in a sense that when you leave, you can show on your resume that you have an MBA with a specialty in healthcare, for example. Then, of course, cross-school electives. Perhaps the MBA program doesn't necessarily have a lot of AI-focused courses, and you really want to understand how it works. So you may take some courses in the School of Engineering, for example. So those are the kinds of full spectrum opportunities that you want to be evaluating from a sort of like a purely pragmatic perspective. You also want to look at the hands-on learning opportunities and network. So network, it's fairly straightforward. Who is the network that you will be able to tap into? Where are the majority of those people employed, so that you can leverage as you move, not only just after your MBA, but also later on, how are you going to be able to leverage that network? If you plan to go back to or go to another country, travel, and relocate, you want to also evaluate if the business school you are targeting will have a presence in that region that you're looking to apply to, and how strong is their presence there, because that is going to be another evaluation of the long-term ROI for the business schools that you're selecting. Hands-on learning opportunities. This is really important for everyone that goes through the MBA process, but particularly those who want to transition into something else, so doing something else than what they're currently doing. You want to really look at what are those hands-on learning opportunities, which means like where can you apply what you learned in the classroom to a real-world scenario. So that would mean like a consulting project that you're working either with an organization, a government body, international opportunities, those kinds of things that will allow you to really practice essentially what you have been learning about from a more perhaps even theoretical perspective, or at least from a discussion, right? So if you are in a classroom where you are discussing ways that you would handle a scenario, that is one way of thinking about it, but obviously you want to know that you can actually apply it in the real world. So hands-on learning opportunities are absolutely instrumental in this period. Career services and placement in your desired industry, particularly if you're looking for this sort of a niche kind of career that you're looking to move into, how strong is the career services team in that space? Or if they're not, if it's too niche of an environment, will they be able to help you get to where you want to go? What are the placements? And you can have conversations with current students to ask them those kinds of questions, because even if they themselves are not doing what you want to do, they may know someone who is. So this way you can, again, strengthen your network even before you step foot on campus. Obviously, location and industry connections are instrumental in this process. So where are they? In the United States, you somewhat have a flexibility of where you can move within the country for top-ranked business schools as far as and where you can leverage it. But you want to look at, of course, its transferability, especially if you want to go abroad. And then industry connections, of course. How strong is the school, or how connected is the school with your industry that you are interested in being a part of? And of course, long-term consideration. So again, long-term, how are you going to be leveraging that particular business school to help you get to your long-term goals? So obviously, all of those components in business school selection, hopefully you're able to get the sense that the reality is you need to know what your goals are. Where are you going? Do you have some kind of directionality, even if it's not specifically lined up as to what are you going to do short and long term? You do need to know where you're going. Graduate school is not undergraduate, meaning you are your graduate school applications, you are going for the purpose of helping you get to the career that you want to go. You do not have the luxury of time to explore. Therefore, you have to have your short and long-term goals, fleshed out. And then when you're looking at business schools, you want to then look at how is that target business school going to support you? It's obviously never going to be perfect, but what are the opportunities that it will offer you in order to get to that short and long term? What are the leadership development, irrespective of which field you're interested in? You want to be a future leader. What are the leadership development opportunities that the school offers in order for you to be able to become the leader that you want to be? Again, network in that area that you are interested in. Will you be able to tap into that network while you are in the business school, but also later on? And how connected and how willing to help is it, right? The culture and values. Do you match? Does your culture, the environment that you are very comfortable in, the environment that helps you thrive or challenges you, is it in alignment with you and what your values are? So these are components that you want to have in your spreadsheet, or however you're going to keep track of your research. You want to have these components lined up there and then comment on for each of the schools you're evaluating, because it will be instrumental in finding the right community, because that is going to also oftentimes determine your ability to succeed in convincing them that you are the right kind of person to attend that institution. So career support, obviously, I'm going to speed up a little bit because I know that we're over time. Do they offer executive coaching? Do they offer job search and placement opportunities? How much do you have to do versus how much are they providing for you, right? There is always going to be you need to initiate something, but you also want a place that already has something in place, some kind of structure, some kind of resources already available for you. Obviously, access to the right network, industry-specific support. Are you able to tap into that particular industry you're interested in? An employer relationship. Is the career services at that target institution continuously building relationships with employers? And particularly, are those employers in line with where you want to go? So the employers that you would like to work for, because obviously those relationships carry and matter in your job search. And then, of course, the campus culture. Understand the school's culture and value, talk to current students, attend online and in-person events where possible. Obviously, if you're an international applicant, the in-person events may be difficult. However, you can still connect with alumni that are in your geographic region and connect with them and understand how that, and you can kind of see firsthand how they interact with one another. Speak with admission representatives where possible. Not every school offers this, but absolutely is something that you want to do to really get a sense of what it's like to be in this program, what it offers you, because you're always going to make somewhat of a guess when you are making these decisions, in the sense that until you attend, you won't know exactly what the experience is going to be like, but you can't attend unless you go through and you jump through these hoops beforehand. So it's a double-edged sword. And then, of course, you're going to compare programs. You are going to apply to about 6 schools and make sure that you have those 6 schools really narrowed down and have reasons for why selecting those, not just rank again. And at the end, if you can't, decide between, 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th school, then, trust your gut and go with that. Obviously, you can also see how the process goes, meaning you can add more schools if you want to, but 6 schools is a lot of material to work on. And there is not a lot of time to put together 6 applications between now and round 1. So with that, I'm going to jump through 2 questions. If you want to have a conversation with me about your application and support that you may need in this process, please feel free to reach out. I do offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation where I talk about your background, your goals, your aspirations, and ways that we can support you there. So I'm going to stop sharing screens for the time being, and then move to questions. Again, I'm navigating this myself, so obviously there's always going to be technical issues. I apologize. All right, let's see, what do we have? Okay, so some questions that came in through the chat. I'm not going to post it on the screen, so I'll just read it out loud. So we protect the anonymity of the person submitting the question. So for business school research, given how much school info is out there on YouTube and Reddit, is it possible to determine school fit and program details without directly speaking to students, alumni? It's possible-ish. There are some schools where every person applying has to actually do their own individual research because some students love the program and some students hate the program. So whatever is out there on Reddit and YouTube, it's only a perspective. It does not really determine what is your perspective and your feeling. So in those situations, I always advise applicants to actually speak with students in the area that they're interested in, so that they, one, get a sense to see, okay, what are some of the activities that are happening in relation to their area of interest. Then they get to see a representation of their peers. And in that component, in the latter piece there, their peers, if you don't like the peers that you're speaking with, or the potential peers that you're speaking with, or a representation of the peers that you're speaking with, you're not going to like the program. So, but you will see plenty of amazing Reddit posts and YouTube posts about the program that may not be in alignment with you. So yes and no is essentially the answer. So you can get a lot of insights from a macro level perspective, but at the end of the day, you have your own personal likes and dislikes. And you may want to try, especially if you're making this kind of investment in time and everything, you definitely want to try and, have conversations with as many people that are in the communities you want to be a part of. I don't mean just like in the MBA or in the business school, but rather in marketing or healthcare or consulting or finance or whatever area you're interested in. You want to have conversations with those individuals because those are typically the people you're going to be hanging out with, because you are going through the same process together. You're recruiting, you're doing similar projects, that's the environment you will be a part of. So the more you can have conversations with those types of individuals at the business school currently, then the better your chances of finding the perfect fit. Excellent. Next question. Any thoughts on which business schools really commits to healthcare industry innovation? business schools, so there are business schools that have a lot of investments of time and resources and programming that are focused in healthcare. So those typically also have professors that are in that space. So you are going to have higher probability of finding industry innovation, although I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. But those are individuals who will have connections to industry leaders, will understand what's happening in the market. So look at Wharton. So Wharton's healthcare management is like the top of the line when it comes to business school and healthcare, and they have projects across the globe that they are a part of. So I think it's an amazing program to look into it. And then obviously Columbia Business School has a healthcare focus as well. It's also a wonderful program to look at. Obviously, these are top M7s, right? Top programs. So if that's your area of interest, then you want to really look at making sure that you have the stats to be a competitive candidate for those schools. So there's another. So even in the info sessions, I have participated in 4 to 5 schools. All students believe they're on the right place. That is some information where you're going to get. Obviously, those are curated discussions, meaning those are individuals that are invited by the admission team to have a discussion. So for that reason, I oftentimes rely on actual cold calling students that are currently in the program, or students that are part of the clubs that you are interested in, because they're not on screen, they're not being recorded, and they can be more candid with their experiences. So nothing beats a one-on-one conversation. All right, so I think that is going to be it for today. I invite you to join me next week, where we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about, the goals. So please register for that event, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for being patient with my tech issues that I experienced initially. And thank you again for your time and for your wonderful questions. See you soon.